Dominus vobiscum, amigos, and welcome back to the Heavenly Toast. Merry Christmas to you and yours. So I was on my way to Mass earlier, and a thought struck me. I was thinking about it, and I think for the past, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years that I've been going to Mass at this particular church. I've been to Mass every time, and it's been with the pastor, and all 4 or 5 years he's delivered the same homily. At this point, I could probably give you kind of like a blow by blow, play by play of what exactly this homily that he delivers is. And I was thinking about that, and I caught myself hoping, man, I really hope that we have something new this year. I really hope that we hear a different homily, a different story, or something like that. And I remember sitting down in the pew and, you hear all of the wonderful music and everything that's going on. You hear the readings and everything. And lo and behold, he starts speaking, and the first part of the story comes out about how he was a pastor at a church in the city. And there was a Christmas pageant before Christmas Eve Mass. And I remember thinking, oh, here we go again, for year number 5 or whatever it was. And the homily went on. It was exactly the same as it had been the previous couple of years. And I got to thinking about that, about my desire to hear something new, to listen to a new story and a new homily. And it got me thinking about the gospel readings that we hear for Christmas. Year after year, we hear the story of Jesus' birth in Bethlehem. And year after year, that same story sticks with us, and we hear it over and over again, either at Mass or as a part of some movie or, wherever it pops up. But it's a story that we've heard over and over again. And much like this homily, it was something that I had heard over and over again. And I started thinking about my desire to hear something new. And I realized that maybe it wasn't so much that I wasn't hearing something new, it wasn't the novelty of it that was really the issue in this case. Maybe it was that I wasn't hearing it anew. I had assumed that there was nothing more that the story could tell me simply because I had heard it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. But much like the story of the Nativity, we hear it anew and we learn anew from that same story. What is the story of the Nativity? But it's the story of who Jesus is. And who is Jesus? Well, at a couple of the Masses, you might hear the readings of the genealogy of Jesus, particularly the one in Matthew's Gospel. What is the purpose of that genealogy? To know one's ancestors isn't simply to know things about the family tree, where people came from, what people's names were, what types of shirts great-grandpa used to like or whatever. But it's to have a rootedness in terms of where we came from, who we were, and what that means as we live our lives as a part of that great family tree, basically. And what do we learn from this genealogy of Jesus? Over and over again, we hear the nativity story about who Jesus is. And in St. Matthew's Gospel, the genealogy of Jesus goes all the way back through David to Abraham. And what does that mean? It points to the fact that Jesus is the fulfillment of everything that the Jews were waiting for. It shows us in no uncertain terms that he is the fulfillment of all of the prophecies. He is the one, the Savior, the Messiah that we've been waiting for. St. Luke also has a genealogy in his gospel, and that goes all the way back to Adam. What does that mean? It means in a very real sense that God is for all humanity, that his lineage goes all the way back through the history of Israel, all the way back to the very beginning of the history of the human race. Adam, the first man who was with God and who lost that presence by disobedience, now in the Christmas story, We have the presence of God with us by Jesus, who reintegrates and reconciles what we originally had, that true presence, communion with God. Now that's rekindled, rebonded, healed. That relationship is healed once again by the human nature and the divine nature of Jesus Christ united in one person, coming to save all mankind from their sins, coming to bring all mankind back to the Father. So as we sit there in Mass and we think about the Nativity story, a story that we've heard 10, 20, 40, 1,000 times, we can listen to not just the story, but the spirit that breathes life into the story, not only teaching us the historical facts about Jesus, but teaching us who he truly is and what that means for our lives. Merry Christmas to you and yours. God bless, friends.